What's going on, guys? Welcome to the video. First off, you might notice a little bit of bruising here. That's just left over from the gua sha treatment I had. If you don't know what the heck that is, you can actually check out my circuit shredding video that I posted this past summer. Before we get going, I just wanted to kind of lay out what the video is going to cover. First off, I'm going to give you a little life update and physique update since I've been out of it for a little bit. Then we're going to be going into setting the goal of how to get shredded, right? What weight are you even trying to aim for? What body fat? Finding this out, that goal weight, we're then going to be able to set a timeline for you, a realistic timeline of when you will achieve that weight, that goal body fat, and then how to go about setting the calorie deficit, how that process even works of losing fat, what are the main priorities in losing fat, how do you train. Yeah, essentially just cover everything around that process, including different dieting techniques and stuff like that. So anyway, before we get into that, I wanted to give you guys a little life and physique update. Obviously, I've been a little bit out of the YouTube game here. To be honest, I've just been a little unmotivated, guys. Like, it happens to all of us, and I just felt like my content was going in circles a little bit. Somebody did point out to me that that's not necessarily a bad thing, but still, I just overall was losing motivation to post these videos. And long story short, I just realized I was a little bit too focused on myself. Really, I just kind of lost sight of what this is all about, why I'm even doing this, why I started this journey in the first place. Of course, it's to become the best version of myself, but in doing so, I want to be helping as many people as I can. That gives me a purpose, that gives me fulfillment. The further I go away from that, the just shittier I feel, right? And I think that was a big part of me losing that motivation was, I stopped reaching and learning and, picking up books and just continually trying to feed myself new information or review information to share with you guys. I don't need to get into it, but you guys are gonna be getting some more frequent videos here. I'm not gonna set anything out in stone yet, but you can be looking at least one video a week from now on, guarantee it. If that doesn't happen, you need to blow me the fuck up because I'm being a bitch. Also, guys, we are planning a move to Florida here in July. Super stoked for that. Me and Gina are gonna be moving to the Tampa Bay Shore area. So if you're in that area, you should definitely hit me up. So that's definitely taken some of my attention away from this as well. I've really had to focus on growing my one-on-one training business, my online business, so I can even afford that move, right? So all these things have kind of taken my attention away from this, but honestly, guys, I'm so on point right now. This past week, I've got it back, okay? I've reminded myself of the vision. I've laid out my entire life goal on a piece of paper, how much money I want to earn, all this stuff planned out, and setting a timeline for it, okay? So just doing something as simple as that, I highly recommend. If you guys are feeling a little unmotivated right now, you need to take that time to self-reflect and figure out what the heck you're even trying to do with this life you have, okay? You need to figure out what you want, what's gonna make you happy, how can you give back, and yeah, guys, so done spewing over that. Give you a little physique update here. Okay, so here we have my body scan today, and then I'll show you an actual full physique. Okay, so here we have my body scan. I've scratched out the other stuff just to make it simple. You really only need to see this past month's readings. So here, a few weeks ago, or almost a month ago, I was about 203.7, 109.8 muscle mass, and 8% body fat. And there, I was actually slightly lower before that, but I was like, shit, I'm losing some muscle, or I'm at the risk of losing muscle, so I need to back it off. So that's why I went back up. I was pretty stagnant that next week. And then honestly, body scans were making me a little depressed. So I held off for 2 weeks, did mine today, and I was freaking crazy happy with the results. Maintained all my muscle mass, drop some pounds, and drop body fat. Now that body fat, of course, I don't believe that's completely accurate just based on the way I'm looking, but either way, I'm going down body fat and maintaining muscle. I'm doing the Alpha Elite Classic, which I forgot to mention earlier. I'm doing the Alpha Elite Classic show June 15th. Really just for me, that's another thing that I needed to just get that motivation back and just have that focus. I realized I needed a show, really. Like, I saw him post it. As soon as he did, like, I wasn't planning on competing anytime soon. I saw that, I was just like, I need this, and just boom, signed up so impulsively. But anyway, I'm glad I did it. I'm stoked. I've been killing it. And yeah, so anyway, about to get into the informational part of the video, get my dry erase board, and I'm definitely gonna have a meal before this next portion because I am starving. Okay guys, so the very first step when you're trying to get lean or shredded is A, figuring out where exactly you are in terms of weight and body fat percentage, and B, where you want to go, what body fat percent you want to get to. Here I'm just using a 200-pound male as an example, starting at 15% body fat. That's usually the ideal body fat percentage you want to start cutting at, so that's just what I'm going to use. And then we're going to say the goal body fat percentage is 8%. You know, that's just a good, lean, still healthy weight, especially if you're trying to look pretty damn lean. And using an online calculator, which I'll link down below, it tells us, okay, our goal weight's gonna be about 185 pounds. So we're gonna need to aim to lose 15 pounds throughout this cut. The second step is to figure out our timeline, right? How long are we gonna be spending cutting? And this way you can even set a specific date of when you are gonna reach this weight, and that's just gonna keep you motivated, keep you going, hold you accountable. So, in this case, we're trying to lose 15 pounds, right? A good, healthy rate of weight loss is, you know, typically between 1 to 2 pounds. And considering this person's 15% body fat, you definitely want to stick closer to that 1 pound mark. You know, you don't want to risk losing any of those hard-earned gains. We want to keep all our muscle as we get down to that lower body fat. Now, typically, you won't have to be too concerned with that until you get below that 8 to 10% range. But still, we just want a nice slow cut that's also going to keep our hunger levels manageable. And you know, the most important thing is that we can actually stick through these whole 15 weeks. Well, that leads me to the next point. So if we're aiming to lose, just for the sake of simplicity, we're aiming to lose 1 pound per week. That would take us 15 weeks. So initially, I like to start out more aiming for about that 1.5 pound loss mark at first, right? As I get leaner down to about 12% is when I really want to stick close to that 1 pound per week mark. But again, just for simplicity, aiming for 1 pound a week, we can hit that goal in 15 weeks. Okay guys, so before we get into this next section, I just want to say this isn't a video on how to set your calories or your macros. I have a different video on that. You can go check it out on my page if you're looking for that specific info. This is strictly how to go about planning the whole shred process, figuring out the timeline, how to go about it, all that stuff. But just as a general recommendation, you can take your body weight, multiply it by 15, and that's a good indicator of where your maintenance level is. This is where you're gonna subtract these calories to create that deficit, right? So if my body weight puts me at 3,000 calories as my maintenance, then I'm gonna subtract 250 calories per day to be in that deficit to lose half a pound a week, or 500 cal deficit a day to equal 1 pound per week. As of now, we've set our goal, where we're at, where we wanna go. We know how long it's gonna take and what we're aiming to lose each week. Now we're just planning that calorie deficit, and this is where your personal preferences can come into play. First off, 3,500 calories equals 1 pound. That's why the 250 cal deficit a day comes to half a pound of fat loss. 500 cal deficit a day comes to 1 pound loss, just so you guys know. How much cardio, what kind of cardio do you do, right? So we have to remember that the main point of cardio, I mean, besides health benefits, cardiovascular health, all that, heart health, the main point of cardio is just to burn calories, right? Increase that calorie deficit. So I like to meet halfway in the middle. I like to subtract 250 calories from my nutrition alone, right? That's my calories. So if I'm at 3,000 calories maintenance, I go down to 2,750. But then I try to burn 250 calories through my preferred form of cardio, right? This can be hit, list, or miss, right? This really comes down to personal preference for the most part. I will say that typically the moderate intensity steady state tends to be where I've read that that can, you know, increase the risk of muscle loss and strength loss, just because that's really focusing on improving your endurance, where LIST doesn't really improve your endurance, it just burns calories, but of course that takes longer. So HIIT has made great muscle retaining benefits, even muscle building benefits, which is great. However, you do want to keep it limited. I typically never do more than 3 times a week, longer than like 25 minutes tops, okay? Doing too much of that is not going to be good for you, and it's going to increase cortisol levels and be counterproductive for retaining that muscle. Also, another benefit of HIIT, of course, is that it's going to be a lot more time efficient. Really, with cardio, it's up to you guys. Personally, I recommend just picking which is your favorite, which do you enjoy the most, or what do you have time for. I usually go with LIST simply because I can get work done while I'm doing it. So just pick what you can stick with to burn, get that 250 cal deficit on top of your, or 250 cal burn from cardio on top of your 250 cal deficit. Now, like I said, you can actually adjust this based on your preferences. I'm not a big fan of cardio either. I'll get to the benefits of actually utilizing cardio in a second besides the health stuff. If you wanted to, you could just use the 500 cal deficit from your nutrition, not do cardio, and still be losing fat, right? I will say that in doing cardio, you can eat more, stay a little fuller, not just stomach-wise, but muscle fullness-wise. Like, I've just noticed that keeping my calories higher, like right now I'm actually doing the opposite of what I just said. I'm keeping my calories at maintenance, but I'm burning 500 calories worth of cardio just because I'm willing to do it, and I've just noticed benefits of being able to take in that amount of food, right? That's what I prefer. I highly recommend incorporating the cardio and meeting halfway, but it's up to you. Whatever you can stick with is gonna work the best. Let's say you stick to that 500 cal deficit 7 days a week, boom, got that 1 pound lost. And this is really a general rule of thumb, not to mention odds are you're gonna be burning slightly over this amount. So what I like to do is incorporate one cheat day where you go 500 calories over what you've been taking in through the week to lose weight. So basically you go back up to your maintenance calories, or if you're at maintenance, you know, you go a little higher than that, keeping up your cardio and everything. I highly recommend starting with this simple 500 calorie deficit, seeing how your body reacts that first week. On top of this, especially since people tend to consume, you know, different amount of carbs, different amount of water, different amount of sodium day to day, you know, weight fluctuates a lot. So to really have a good, accurate idea of the direction you're moving, I recommend as soon as you wake up, use the restroom, hop on the scale, jot down your weight, and take the average at the end of the week. This is gonna give you the most accurate representation of where your weight's going. Okay, so I highly recommend you start off with this 500 cal deficit, but you know, if you're closer to this 15% range or even higher, you can increase that rate just a little bit. Now, like I said, start here. You know, you might lose more than a pound that first week. If that's the case, you're good. If it's right at a pound or maybe even slightly less, then what I like to do is drop my nutritional calories by 500, like total, 500 total, and then stick with the 250 calories of cardio, you know, so 750 cal deficit a day, you know, it's gonna equal about 1.5 pounds a week for a little bit faster rate of fat loss. Now, when it comes to your cheat meal, I'm not even gonna put it on the board. I really recommend you just stick to 1 day a week. And that doesn't necessarily mean you can't eat out or anything throughout the week, right? Like, as long as you're sticking under your calories, hitting your protein goal, which are the 2 main priorities in this deficit, right? In this whole system, that main focus is staying right underneath calories, hitting that protein goal to be in a state of fat loss and maintaining muscle. So for cheat day, I like to give myself 500 calories more than I'm consuming. So if I'm eating, you know, 3,000 calories a day, that one cheat day I'll give myself 3,500 calories. And what's crazy is sometimes you might even wake up lighter, although most of the time you are gonna wake up a little heavier just because of increased glycogen stores, water stores, but you're gonna look better, honestly. You're gonna feel fuller. You might even look a little leaner just because you fill out. You know, you wanna think of yourself like a balloon that kind of gets flattened and wrinkled, and you know, you put carbs in, it fills you up and kind of tightens you up. which is kind of crazy and cool. So that's just what simple recommendation for a cheat meal once a week, 500 calories over what you were consuming. Okay guys, so of course as we continually lose weight, we're gonna eventually hit a plateau. So super simple, you can do one of two things. Once again, either increase your deficit just by 250 calories. At this point, you will just want to steadily increase that deficit. You do not want to keep dropping 500 cal deficits over and over. You can either drop the calories by 250 or increase expenditure by 250. Again, you could meet in between by 125, 125. I just prefer to first increase expenditure and then decrease calories, and just steadily do that as I need to continue losing. And typically, you should only have to do this maybe like 2 to 3 times throughout the whole cut. Of course, that's gonna vary from person to person, but that's just based on my clients and me, that's what I've experienced. All right guys, so that's pretty much it for the whole nutrition side of things when it comes to cutting and burning fat. So when it comes to training, you know, very common question, how do I adjust my training to cut? I do higher reps, what? No. Okay, for the most part, you want to keep your training kind of the same. You want to be focusing on maintaining as much strength as you possibly can. You might even still be able to go up strength initially at those higher body fat percentage, which would be awesome. But ideally, you won't be losing too much strength. Of course, it's going to go down at some point, but that is the ultimate goal, is just to maintain as much strength and as much volume as you can. You don't want to drop the volume of your workouts unless if you just absolutely have to. And I mean, it'll steadily drop itself as your weights slightly go down. You know, fatigue might start kicking in a little bit, but really your training for the most part should stay the same. Me personally, I do like to start incorporating some more supersets. I think one of the best things you can do for your body is consistently switch up the stimulus in your way of training. You know, we all have our personal preferences, but man, I love switching it up. I love keeping it, you know, interesting. So anytime I'm cutting, I definitely like to incorporate more supersets, you know, just to keep the intensity up a little bit, take shorter rest periods, stuff like that. And then I'll even start incorporating some circuit style training, especially as I get leaner and leaner. You know, I feel like the rate of loss is slowing down. I like to do that just to, you know, keep it rolling, keep the fat burning. But for the most part, guys, just keep your training very similar to what you've been doing. And I'd say the number one most important thing would be just to try to maintain that strength as much as you can. Okay, I'll add a little bit more on nutrition. So I forgot to discuss that, of course, there are different dieting techniques. I feel like the biggest ones right now are just IFYM, if it fits your macros, intermittent fasting, keto, and carb cycling. Again, this is really personal preference. However, I believe that these two are the best options for cutting. If it fits your macros, which is really at the root of every single dieting technique, right? The main thing, like if you get one thing out of this video, guys, like one thing, it's that calories in versus calories out is the number one determining factor in your fat loss, okay? The very second, or I mean pretty equal priority, is the protein, right? That's going to maintain your muscle, keep your metabolism up, and keep you looking good, right? So protein, calories, boom, that is the main thing. Carbs and fats, for the most part, are pretty damn interchangeable. You know, if you're competing, it's a little different. Carbs affect performance, they affect your muscle fullness, but really, guys, they are interchangeable. So keep that in mind if you are really focused on your performance and your muscle fullness, that you will want a little bit more energy from carbs. On the other hand, keep in mind that with carbs comes water. So if you feel pretty watery, try lowering your carbs a little bit. You'll wake up a little drier. As I was saying, if it fits your macros, is at the base of all these. Calories in, calories out, protein intake, carbs and fats, interchangeable for the most part. Intermittent fasting, guys, has some great health benefits based off of the research I've seen. You know, reduce insulin sensitivity, increase cellular repair, and the mental focus is very real, guys. I've been using intermittent fasting, especially this past month, and the whole time I'm fasting in the morning, I'm so focused and productive. It's awesome. But the biggest thing, the biggest reason why I'm starting to say and recommend to all my clients that they utilize intermittent fasting on their cut, especially as it gets harder and you get hungrier, is because it's so much easier to not eat when you haven't eaten yet. Pushing off that meal, you have such a smaller window to get that food in. And guys, I mean, I don't really necessarily do, like if I had to say which protocol I use, it'd be the 16-hour fast, 8-hour eating window, but I don't stick to it like the Holy Grail, okay? It's you know, a window, like I can eat within like 2 hours of this time, okay? So I just push off that meal, you know, 4 or 5 hours, and then I only have that small amount of time, that 8 hours or so, to consume that food. So lately what I've been finding is, like last night, I actually had to stuff my face with 1,500 calories. I didn't even want to finish the last of my food, but I did because I was like, I need the protein and I don't want to be too low on calories. So I actually had to stuff my face to finish last night, as opposed to my last prep where I would finish my calories and just be laying in bed like all I could think about was food. I just wanted to, oh man, the willpower, like, you don't want to rely on willpower at that point, guys. Like, the intermittent fasting is a huge tool in pushing that off, and yeah, I just highly recommend it. This isn't going to be a video on that or anything. These are just the 2 techniques I highly recommend incorporating. I have a whole how to set your macros video, like I said earlier, you can check that out. But yeah, intermittent fasting, if it fits your macros, are the 2 best options in my opinion. Combine them. Even using the intermittent fasting, you know, don't just rely on the smaller window. Keep counting your macros to make sure you're in that calorie range. And then, you know, like me last night, I was like, oh, I have 1,500 calories left. I can literally stuff my face and be good and be in a fat loss state. And of course, I woke up this morning, I was the lightest I've been this whole prep and the lowest body fat I've been, right? Maintain all my muscle. And that was my one concern with intermittent fasting, like, oh shit, am I gonna lose muscle? Well, now I can tell you from experience, I didn't. And I love it. It's made this whole process so much easier mentally. And yeah, guys, that's just what I recommend. I think that does it, guys. I really enjoyed making this video. This is the first video I've been excited about making in a while. I want to do some more stuff like this. Of course, keep incorporating the workout videos and stuff. But I had a lot of fun sharing this information with you. If you found it useful, please, you know, let me know in the comments, like, subscribe, and yeah, wish you guys a great day, and thank you so much for watching.